I have to write a chapter in the book of fatherhood.
Ooh.
Knowing that I don't know everything, so then I definitely need to pull from those who have more experience, those who have done it well, those who have been successful in this particular realm. So it's not for me to know everything. That's when we know we're really getting somewhere.
Yes.
When we recognize that the more I learn, that I don't know.
What's going on, family? Kevin and Jesse here with you guys today. As always, the Elite State of Mind podcast, where our goal is to listen, learn, and grow. Jesse, how you doing today, man?
I'm great, man. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. I am doing amazing. Family, make sure you guys like, follow, and subscribe to our YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram page. Make sure you hit that little bell on YouTube so you get notified every Wednesday as Jesse and I hopefully try to elevate you guys' mind. What we're going to continue our talk about today, guys, is Fatherhood Part 3. What we did do this week was we sent out some questions and got some really good feedback from fathers of what fatherhood meant to them, kind of what it's taught them. Obviously Jesse and I will answer these questions for you guys as well. A lot of good things in there. But one thing I thought was really interesting was many of the in the first question, it was, what does fatherhood mean to you? And a lot of the answers had to do with providing, protecting, and loving, and that was I would probably say over 90% of the answers were along those lines. Okay. So, but what does fatherhood mean to you, Jesse?
At this point, it means that I can better relate to my Creator because I'm able to understand more so along the mindset from which He is communicating, right? Understanding the why, like why it's imperative, that I need his covering and protection. One of the things I thought about was, that Psalms, that 91st Psalm, like underneath the wing of his protection, underneath his shadow, like what it means to be there. Right, and so how that's going to translate to me, as a father, like it hits differently.
That's true. That's a very different thing. Once you step into fatherhood, you become very appreciative. Yeah. Of all that He has done, and the father that you have, and the other male mentors that you come along in life. Yeah. You become very appreciative of just the time that they spent and they poured into you, because you understand they didn't have to. Right. You understand that it was even if it was 5 minutes, it was 5 minutes they could have allocated somewhere else that they could have done something else with, but they felt it. They felt you important enough, right, to take time out of their day, their schedule, away from maybe their children or loved ones, to help pour into you. So it's definitely an eye opener. Yes. Once you are entrusted, like you said, in the first episode, that you're entrusted with this other life, that you're entrusted with these things. One of the answers I did want to read, it was, what does fatherhood mean to you? And it was unconditional love, undeniable support, and unwavering growth. Yeah. And it's that I really believe that most of us as fathers, we try to strive for that, unconditional love. You might not get there, but you're striving for it. You want to, support your child. You try your best to, whatever their goals, dreams, and aspirations are. Even, as we were talking about a little earlier, whatever is important to them at the time. As a father, you have to be supportive in that. But the one thing that I believe we can all get better at is that unwavering growth. Yeah. Because the better I become as a man, the better I become as a father, the more I grow and better myself, I'll just be that much better. Yes. As a father. And then that means I have more to pour in. Yes. As you've said before, it's really tough to pour from that empty cup. I'm thirsty. Hard. Take this oxygen. Yeah. That's all I got.
A cup of wish lady. What are you gonna do? What do you do with that?
For you, what is unwavering growth? As a father.
I think it begins is just in our manhood that we know that we have to be growing. We have to be moving in direction and understanding that we don't know everything, and so that it's only amplified when you become a father, knowing that I have to write a chapter in the book of fatherhood. Knowing that I don't know everything. So then I definitely need to pull from those who have more experience, those who have done it well, those who have been successful in this particular realm. So it's not for me to know everything. That's when we know we're really getting somewhere.
Yes.
When we recognize that the more I learn, that I don't know a dang thing.
That's true. That's true. You know, it's crazy because you always think, you know, before you become a dad, when I have kids, I'm gonna do X, Y, Z, and my kids they're gonna do this and they're gonna become this, and then like you said, as soon as you step into that,
you go, what's going on?
What happened to those plans? Yeah. What happened to those? You know, they're gonna do X, Y, Z. You're gonna make sure they do this and this and this. And you're like, well, I didn't understand how kids worked exactly. Right. Even though I was one, I didn't know what my parents were dealing with as I was, matriculating, through life.
That's good.
So, I really believe we get that appreciation. And I think, and hopefully this is the case for many of us, that once you become a father, it leads you back, to your father. Like you said, to deepen, your relationship with your creator, and then, with your earthly father or whoever stepped up in that role for you. If the father, himself wasn't present, that now you go, hey, man, thanks.
Appreciate that.
Thanks.
It changes, man. Like you said, it changes when you're like, oh, my God, I see why you did what you did. It didn't make sense at the time, but you're sitting here like, ooh, if I'd have knew then what I know now, I'd have gave you even much more respect that was due you. That's just because of what you had to do to make sure we were okay. Like,
right, like
it's huge.
I always remember, like, one of my favorite moments with my dad was growing up, sometimes we only had one car, and so mom would be at work, but then me and my sister would get out of school, we'd be little, he would walk up to the school, walk us home. And so one time walking home, we stopped at this place. And I don't know why this place went out of business, but it was this place that's set up on this hill. So, coming to the pulpit's on that hill before you could turn and go to the house. And they had these, like, cherry Dr. Pepper shakes. Yeah. And, we stopped in there, man, and we got it. That was just always, that memory. But as you said, this was after him going to work. Doing these things. Yeah. Yes. Well, I got to make sure, my kids get home safe. So let me walk up to the school. Yes. As we walk home. And then to take time out, and just that memory, it sticks out. Yeah. And so now you understand, like you said, that respect. So and then it allows you to see other dads, and you're like, stay on your grind. Yeah.
For sure.
Keep doing you, big dog. Okay. Even though it might not seem like it today. That scripture of to be steadfast, unmovable, right, and always abounding. Yeah. Because you're like, man, is my labor in vain?
You question it some days.
Because it can be tough. Sure. As a parent, not to tell you that, but right, it can be tough. It can be tough because, boy, them little suckers, sometimes they don't want to show you no appreciation. But you understand, because just as them.
Yeah. What do they know?
Because they have an expectation. Right. Of my daughter hits me with this all the time. That's what dads are for, aren't they?
No lie.
You're right.
No lie. Like,
you're right. This is what dads are for. Right. So I got to make sure that I show up. One of the other answers that we got was, that was pretty prevalent, in that what does fatherhood mean to you was, the ability to influence, young lives, the opportunity that we have as fathers, to look at our children. And as we've talked about, as you may not be a father per se, but you may be a mentor in a fatherhood role, your ability to mentor, other young individuals positively. Yes, because that's what we want them to see. Hopefully, that's what you want. That opportunity, because their mind is a blank slate, and you now have the ability to impart on them. Hey, man, let's read this book. Yes. Hey, let's work out. Hey, this is how you might want to, deal in this scenario, deal in this, in this, situation that comes up or occurs in life. Yeah. What was maybe something that happened for you, growing up, where you had that positive influence, from a father?
Man, I had, quite a few, just because of, uncles and older cousins and,
Old cousin Larry.
I know, like, I had so many. I got cousins. I had great cousins, and
what a time to be
man, alive. Like, man, I think, it was just good because of the many different, avenues that were there. That the information was coming from. Okay, yeah, we got veterans from the military. We got people who were entrepreneurs back in the day.
Right.
We had people who were workers and factory workers. Like I'm thinking, like right now, I'm thinking about Uncle Jesse Lee when he was just at what I figured in my point. As a kid, I'm like, man, he's at the height right now.
Yeah.
Right? So he was probably in his, 50s, 60s, if not older. Yeah. But as a kid, he's there. But, I see him, every time I see him, he's sharp as a tack. Yeah. Right? All the men that were around were, from their generation, if fully dressed is, hey, man, I either got a suit on or I got some slacks and a shirt, and I got my shoes that have been shined, right? And I have a hat on my head of some form, right? I don't leave the house. I'm not dressed, and I remember hearing this multiple times. You're not dressed as a man until you put your hat on before you step out the door.
That's fair,
right? That's so fair. That was that particular generation. So you think about that and the things the attributes that they were teaching at that time, like Papa, hey, make sure you open the door. I vividly remember this. Like we leave in his house, and he's like every single time, don't let your grandmother, your mother touch the door. This is what you do. Right, you open the door. So I'm opening the screen door, going down, opening the blue Cadillac door. Right, you get over to the church. Cadillac. I'm opening the church, and so it made it a habit of, hey man, this is what one of the things you're supposed to do.
Men are door openers. But that's. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
we won't digress on that one right now. But
yeah. So it was one of those things where like even people from church, man, like some of the deacons pouring in about their experiences, they were coming from all over the nation and like different evangelists or whatever. Like there were different people that would just see you. And that's what I loved about, the community as a whole at that time. They would see you and be like, oh, man, see you good. Oh, yeah, you bright. Yeah, that's great. Here, man, make sure it was always a good piece of advice. Because it was coming from a place of, I got to make sure that you're okay. I got to make sure that we fill you with enough information that you'll be fully prepared for what life is going to bring you. You're always talking about, I remember one of the deacons was like, hey, man, make sure you work out your entire time, your whole life, because if not, you're going to be chubby like me.
Facts.
Because I used to have a 32-inch waist too, right? He former military guy.
Yeah.
And so it was one of those things like, oh yeah, he said that, yeah. And as I go on in life, like, okay, I go on a couple of stints where I don't work out. Next thing I know, woo.
And you see the pitfalls.
And you see it, right?
You see the pitfalls that come along with that.
Yeah.
And, it's so crazy, from all of that advice and those things how they begin to shape us as men. Like you said, something that was really good was that communal sense. And one thing as fathers, we have to get back to a community of fathers. Being that again, if I see your children somewhere, I should be apt to love and support and to teach. Again, I won't go into this, but outside of the realm of athletics, I should do that in the academic realm. I should do that. Whether I just see him in Walmart, it shouldn't be anything. It should be a regular practice again. Right. For us as fathers to, oh, hey, how you doing today, man? Oh, hey, mister, X-Y, I'm doing great, man. I'm just out, getting some bread. I'm just out, doing, okay, man, hey, make sure you stay out of trouble, young man. Make sure you stay out of trouble, young lady. Those things, because we had that a lot. Growing up,
yes.
If you were out and somebody saw you, it's not necessarily that you were up to no good, but they were just like, hey, man, how you doing, man? Just want to make sure I holler at you, make sure. Yeah. So therefore, you understood that there was a presence of people caring about you, that there were men that cared about you and that were looking out for you, even when you might not have known that they were around. So in the event that something happened, the off chance that something happened, but nowadays, as men, we get so caught up in. I'm not going to, have that communal sense, and it just leads to people feeling alone,
right?
Because they don't feel that, providing and protecting from us as men,
right?
Now, I'm not telling you need to be out there taking care of somebody else's family before you take care of your own.
No, we're not saying that.
Not what I'm saying.
We're not saying that, dog.
But we do have, and there are a lot of good movements out there. A lot of men that are starting things. That are trying to get that communal sense back, and that are trying to pour into fathers and families, because that is the strength of our people, is the family and the family unit as a whole, and it's always going to begin with us as fathers.
That's right.
And if, the youth that's coming up, if they can again see the importance of, having that father, be present and offering his presence,
yes,
as you said,
yes,
it's just going to make life turn out a lot easier, more so than people believing the narrative that men and women are islands unto themselves. Because again, there are some times you're gonna have to travel some roads, by yourself. I understand that, but you're made to go on this journey of life with somebody.
That's right.
With people.
Yeah.
One of the other answers that I really liked in what does fatherhood mean was that it's to cultivate the highest duty to carry on the legacy. To make to leave a lasting impression, upon society, because obviously, once I'm gone, my children are going to carry on my thoughts, ideals, and beliefs in a smaller fashion, right? Because the goal is for them to develop who they are and what they are, in themselves.
That's right.
But we have to make sure that we leave a good impression, a positive one, and a positive influence, on them, because our children, at the end of the day, my Andy says all the time, that's my legacy. My children are my legacy. And we have to make sure as fathers that we are pouring good things into them, creating that great legacy, whether it is, they were great scholars, whether they were, as you said, great entrepreneurs. They were always well dressed. Whatever, there should always be a positive narrative that we impression upon our children to carry that into, their next phase of of adulthood. What would you feel like is the one thing, if you could say, man, this is the thing that I want to impart upon my legacy?
Just to make sure that they know the importance of their relationship with their Creator, and then to know that there isn't anything that they cannot do. There is nothing that they cannot accomplish. Right? Understanding that it's important to work and do the work.
Very true.
So just knowing that there is no limit. There's no limit. You were created by an infinite being. So there isn't anything. Yeah, there isn't anything that you can't do. You possess every tool that you're going to need to be successful. You just need to go get to work. Right.
That's true. And so in the second question was. Let's see, what has being a father taught you? Or actually, this was the answer to the first question. I'm sorry. It was providing a sanctuary for your child where they are wanted, because we can. It's so easy to get caught up in the hustle of life and just the flow of every day coming and going, and then how things they get locked in that hypnotic rhythm. Locked in the laws of nature, that we don't make sure that our children feel like we want them around. It's like you said, whatever is important to them at the time, if it is a video game, if it is going outside and playing, if it is maybe you sit down and watch an episode of Daniel Tiger. I'm not saying you binge watch Paw Patrol, because I'm not. I have a strong dislike for Chase. He's a dirty cop.
Oh my gosh!
But making sure that in that you are creating that atmosphere of I love you and I want you around.
Safe spaces, like you said, right?
You got to have those safe spaces, for our children. So therefore, they know that this is normal.
Yes.
So they're not hoodwinked when they get out here into the world. Yes. Don't let your children be hoodwinked by evildoers.
Right.
Because they're less apt to be hoodwinked, bamboozled, and run amok by people preying on them if they understand, if their standard is one of, this is how my father treated me. Right. Especially, when you have a daughter. You want to make sure that you're the example of this is how men act, this is how men treat you and how they respect you. If you have a son, it's the same standard. Of this is the love and admiration you have to have for yourself. So expect nothing less from anybody else.
That's right.
So again, you're not hoodwinked by evildoers out here in the world, because they're out there.
Yes.
They're out there.
Yes, they
These evildoers. These hoodlums. How do we, Jesse, as fathers, help to create that safe space, for our kids, where they feel wanted?
Give them the time when they ask for the time, right? As they progress in age, they're gonna try to figure some things out. They're gonna do some things on their own, all of that. But be on the lookout for the opportunities.
Ooh.
Right?
Ooh, that's good.
You have to be
that's good.
watching. That's part of what you do in your protective role. Right.
Are you watching?
Are you watching? So you have to be watching to make sure, when is the space? Yeah, I could jump in right here.
Okay.
When is he or she gonna need? Oh yeah, here it is. Mm-hmm. As they go off and do their thing. Hey, what are you watching? Oh, like you said, Daniel Tiger. Okay, well, Daddy gonna sit down here and watch this with you just for a little bit. If all this is 10 minutes.
Yeah,
that makes their particular day to let you know, oh man, of his own. Dad came in here and just sat down. Oh, he cares. I'm good. You just want to know. You think back on your own childhood. All you want to know is to know that, okay, yeah, you see me. You care about what's going on with me
in my world.
Mm-hmm. You care.
Right.
Okay, I'm good. That gives me confidence that when I have to go out to this school, that I'm going to be okay, that I can do it. That when I go to the store and you say, hey, go up there and pay for this, I can go, yep, I sure can. Because I see Dad, I can look over my shoulder, yeah, he right there. Because he said I can do it, I can do it.
Right.
Right? So spending that time, it makes that thought solid in their mind.
And one of the questions was, what's your fondest memory or best piece of advice you got? And one of the answers was, me and my dad, we would play Madden or 2K every night, and I always remember that.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up, that was one of the responses we got. And so, like you said, that quality, as you've always said, it's the quality of the time you spend, not the quantity. Because again, as we talked about last time, you can be present, but not offer your presence.
That's right.
Right. So so when we are making sure, fathers, that you're in that, make sure that the time is of quality.
Mm-hmm.
So whether it's I heard my pastor say, he said, man, sometimes my wife will go to put my kids to sleep. He said, but then my son's like, hey, do you want to play with these Lincoln Logs? He said, I sure do.
Yep.
He said, because in the midst of playing with these logs, in the midst of doing whatever we're doing, now we begin to talk, we begin to bond, we begin to, share, and he tells me about his day and what he's done and his thoughts. And it's in those intimate moments where the opening up happens, and they can begin to tell you what it is they want to be, what it is they want to become, and how they view the world, how they see it. Yes. So you can either continue and pour into that, or you can say, hey, we don't do that.
Yeah.
We don't think that of ourselves. We don't believe that of ourselves.
Right.
But if you never take that opportunity, if you're always too tired,
if you're so rigid, if you're so rigid, like that's what I got from that story. But like your pastor had enough, wherewithal to understand. Like, yeah, it's bedtime. But hold on. There's a reason why you're asking me to play with these logs right here, right now, in this particular moment. Let me discover
what this is.
Let me discover what's going on.
He was looking for the opportunity. And as fathers, we do have to be opportunistic. You have to be opportunistic to make sure that, as we talked about fathers being farmers, you're going to take care of the seed, as we talked about, protecting the seed.
Yep.
That you take every opportunity possible to protect the seed. That was a conversation we had with our mentors. The protection, the development of the seed.
Yeah.
How is it protected? How is it developed? How does it grow? How does it make sure that as it moves about through nature, that it gets to its final destination of becoming whatever it is to become.
That's right.
And whatever it is to do, however it is supposed to help the world. That's our children.
That's right.
And so we make sure, as you said, to be very opportunistic, to be on the lookout for these opportunities.
Yeah.
To be, hey man, something's wrong with the moon.
I will never forget that.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
I don't know, Uncle. All I know is I need me a telescope so I can look at the moon. The weather's off. Something's wrong.
He wasn't wrong.
Let's talk about this thing, man. Let's talk about this. Right now, it could have been, oh yeah, sure, watch this basketball game.
Right.
Because that's what I want to do.
Right.
But in this moment, you want to talk about.
Let's talk about it.
The moon.
Let's talk about it.
In this moment, you want to play with the logs. In this moment, you want to, my daughter, hey dad, she got a little nail machine. Hey dad, will you do my nails? Sure, come on.
Yeah.
In this moment. Let's do this. We have to be opportunistic to make sure that we take that quality of time, whether it's 5 minutes, 5 days, whatever the case may be. As fathers, I don't think you can drive that point home enough. To look for those special opportunities, to look and not be so rigid in our structure that we're not pliable,
right?
That we're not able to adjust on the fly and say, okay, this is some extra time that our Creator has afforded us.
Yes. Yep.
So let me make sure I go ahead and get to that.
Let me maximize that.
Yeah, let me get down. Let me get down through there. One thing, about what in the second question of what has fatherhood taught us.
Mm-hmm.
One of many of the answers had to do with patience.
Yes.
The ability to, as we talked about earlier, you take a step back and you look at how your parents or father, dealt with you, and you're like, man, I did used to just jump off the house,
right,
doing some crazy stuff. I remember me and one of my homies, we used to, there was a road behind the house, and we would get on there and we'd hop, back when what was it called, like land luging or something like that. You get to lay on the skateboard, and we was crazy, man. And our dumb selves, we'd be like, oh, let's make sure we dive off right before the rock.
Oh, my gosh.
Now, we could have hit this rock and died.
Right.
And you're like, man, I did used to do some stupid stuff.
Pretty much.
But then you understand the level of patience that has to be exuded. Right. That if you did hit the rock.
Yeah.
Like, what good is it then as a father for me to come out and smack you up a couple more times for doing something you knew you shouldn't have been doing when you're already concussed?
Right.
It just makes no sense.
Yeah, from bad to worse.
But if I have some patience, and, okay, first let's take care of your initial need.
Right.
Let's get you unconcussed.
Need some ice. Right.
Now let's sit down and talk about these decisions you've made.
Yeah. Yes.
As you said, let's be apt to teach.
Yeah.
What was your thought process of, hey, why did you do this?
Yeah.
Why did you feel like this was a good idea?
Right.
How did you arrive to this conclusion that diving off this skateboard uncontrollably into oncoming traffic was wise?
Oh, my God. Yeah.
Oh, well,
It just seemed like it was fun.
Well, hopefully now you learned your lesson and you understand that this may not be the best of ideas.
May not be.
What has fatherhood taught you? Just in terms of like maybe just from yourself.
Yeah, it taught me a lot about myself.
Mm-hmm.
It taught me that with all the positive that it brought, it made me look into the negative aspects of myself.
Okay.
So that I could address those things, and make sure that he was well equipped to combat that.
Yes.
Because oftentimes we are not.
That's true.
We're taught about, hey, this is what you do, this is what you're going to be good at, da-da-da. So if I'm looking, because I made a point personally, be like, okay, I have to make sure that, the gifts and the talents and the skills that developed from an early age, but also let's look at the things that could potentially hold you back.
Ooh,
so again, it made me take a look at myself. What areas of my weekend that I need to get strong?
Yes.
And so therefore, I can help in that development as well.
Right.
Because again, like you say, we're always taught about, go be the greatest athlete. Well, what are we doing to strengthen your character?
Ooh.
Like what are we doing to make sure that you know what it means to be steadfast? Do you know what it means to have duty? What is your duty as an adolescent?
Yes.
Right? So those are the things that, I began to take a look at, and, I had to study. I got a notebook that I had to go through and write down and redefine these words, how they apply to, the faith system, how they apply to the psychology, how they apply in a social setting to make sure that I can get, and like we said, we delved into the emotional intelligence. And this has been years of study, right? Because it's my job as a father to teach these things. How do you control your emotions, young man? We have too many young men running around here that cannot control their emotions. And because they can't, then we see all these different shootings, and we see all these different things, and we see all this domestic violence, and we see this addiction at a supremely high level, because the feeling of no one cares, no one loves me, no one sees me.
Make you where you're seeking attention.
Pretty much.
It's just as we get older, the way we seek attention, it can become highly volatile.
Right.
And like you said, in many ways, from the addictions to the the bevy of things, the using of people, the not placing value in the right places.
Right.
But again, and that is the fathers. That's the importance of your role in the life of your children, male and female, is to make sure that they understand there are many things you have to pour into them and teach them. But it's going to make society better if their father shows them, the love and admiration that a father can.
Yeah.
Because that's only going to come from one place, and that's from you.
Yeah.
So hopefully, if you have the opportunity to do that,
you have the opportunity.
don't take it lightly.
All right.
Don't take it lightly, and don't sit there and think that it doesn't mean anything. Don't think that your children don't care about it.
Right.
But because they do. I think the one thing, especially as my children get older, that fatherhood has taught me is to be very conscious of the energy that is around them, because of them being so young and impressionable. You have to be aware, and if it's something that doesn't align with one who I am as a person, with what I believe in my Creator, then we have to take a step back and we have to say, well, are we going to allow this to continue?
Right.
Are we going to allow these individuals to be present, in the lives of our children? And, fathers, that's one thing you are, that is one of your duties, is to protect them, and not just from, your physical threats, but from the energies that, they come in contact with, because, spirits can transfer. Right. So you got to watch who touches them.
Right.
You got to watch who speaks over them and into them.
Definitely that.
And at the end of the day, it might not even be, somebody with ill intentions. It just might be somebody who, as we learn about so often, is just a drifter. Right.
They have misaligned intentions.
Right. And that can be just as dangerous and lead them down as bad a path as somebody that, with ill intentions. Because we all understand stranger danger. We all understand, keeping them away from predators. We understand, these many things. Or we should. Let me say that. We should. But, again, if it's somebody who has the language of a loser, well, your energy's bad.
Sorry,
I need to get away from you. If you never adopted the winner's plate, man, the energy's bad.
Yep.
But my kids can't really kick it with you like that.
That's right.
If you're not big into making sure that you encourage people, and if you can't encourage yourself, ain't colada. Right. If you cannot encourage yourself, you don't know how to encourage them. Hey, we might not kick it with you too often. Right. Now, I'm not saying you're a bad person. I'm not saying that you don't have things to offer other people. Right. But if those are the things that you have, like fatherhood has taught me to be very, very, aware of outside energies in my own. Right. Because sometimes, fathers, let me help you. If you're not hitting at 100 and you're experiencing a little negativity, sometimes you just need to keep your mouth shut and go on about your business. Yep. And don't let that spew out into your kids. Don't have displaced anger with them. That's right. Because they did nothing to you. They weren't Johnny at work. Right. That told you to move, 2 more pallets of boxes or file 5 more reports. There's no need for you to go and be mean to them. Right. When they had nothing to do with that. So don't let that pour over into them, and make sure that we are peacekeepers in our home. Right. Before we are just always giving them an energy that's not due them. Right. And so one of the last things in that one, that what has fatherhood taught us was also to be unselfish. And it's so crazy because as growing up, especially if you do grow up as an athlete, sometimes you're taught them, hey man, you got to make sure that you get yours. You got to make sure, because if you're trying to earn scholarships, or if you're trying to get recruited, sometimes it comes with a little selfishness. Yeah. Sometimes I gotta make sure that I get my tackles. I gotta make sure I get my yards. I gotta make sure I get my points, my strikeouts, whatever it is you're playing. But then once you step into a different role, like when you become the head coach, it's a little bit different than being the star player. For sure. Right? Because the head coach, you got one job done. Make sure the team's ready to play. Yep. And make sure we're in position to win championships. Yep. And you can't always be concerned about you having the limelight. Yeah. No. When we talk about being the head coach as a father, what does that put you in the mind frame of?
Man, that's just like you said. Do I understand? To keep the analogy going, do I understand the game as a whole? What's the end game? Right? Do we set? You remember when we have team meetings at the beginning of the year, then the coach is setting the tone for, hey man, this is the team goals. And typically we have anywhere between 3 and 5. But one of the last things they're going to talk about is championship of some sort. Right. Whether it's going to be conference, whether it's going to be national, and most of them, hey, we're trying to win the natty.
Right.
And so then it is a reverse engineer of this is how we're going to get there. So, you know, as a father, like you said, you are the head coach. So understand that you're the responsible one.
Right.
And this is where I think the breakdown happens in terms of male, female, all that. Being a head coach means I have to delegate to these coordinators.
Yep.
If I'm really a good head coach. I can see that with Mike Gundy at Oklahoma State. He made a huge leap last year when he took his hands off the offense, right? He took his hands and he said, man, I have to look at the entire program as a whole, and I have to be able to coach every single position and make sure I have oversight. I'm sitting in all these meetings, you know, the offensive meeting, defensive meeting, special teams meeting, and so that I know what's going on. One of the things that we run into with fathers that we don't know what's going on inside of our own home, inside of our own children. We don't know what's going on. So
don't know what school they go to, teacher's name,
none of
what
that.
kind of grades they're making.
None of that.
Only the mother needs to know.
Right? Like, nope. Because here's the thing. Again, as we make the transition and go, as an individual is here to help what you have going on, not be the sole source sustainer of everything that's going on. Hey, just go over here and just I have the title and I'm not going to do anything else. No, if you're going to be it, then be it.
That was one of the responses was fatherhood's more than a title.
Right.
It's a duty. And you know the thing about most good head coaches. Let me say this. The greats
head
coaches, they don't hire coordinators they don't trust.
That's right.
Fathers,
that's right.
Don't get mothers you don't trust. That's right. That is the danger of obviously we're all grown. Right. And when you make grown people decisions, there are grown consequences, good or bad.
Yeah.
But stop getting coordinators you're not gonna trust. That the game plans, hey, you might be old school Big Ten football, 3 yards in a cloud of dust.
Right.
And she might be what was old Steve Spurrier with the air raid. Throw it deep.
Yeah.
That's not gonna mesh well.
Yeah. No, your philosophies are totally different. So
doesn't make y'all bad people.
No.
But the philosophy of your household it's not gonna be good.
You can't have success
because she's gonna be, hey, we need to score touchdowns. Right. This play, trunk it deep, and you're gonna be ball control.
Yep.
Hey, if we didn't get the first, let's punt it.
Right.
Play defense. We got a good defense. Right. Yeah. And how does that translate? Well, you might be the type of cat that wants to just save all your money.
Right.
Right. You might say, hey, let's keep this 9 to 5, and we're comfortable here, and she might say, no, we need to go create some business.
Right.
We need to go do XYZ. We need to take all the risk and gamble.
Yes.
Well, y'all are all probably gonna fight.
Yeah.
If you're not able to come to some sort of compromise,
we can't agree.
If you're not able to say, you know what, hey, that air raid might work a little bit. If you can't do the Bob Stoops,
man,
hey, let's try this out. Right? Let's pivot and change the trajectory.
That's right.
Of our program.
That's right.
When he hired the other guy. But then here's the thing. And fathers, I'm going to tell you this. Your family set a foundation. And if the foundation of your family was set so that it set y'all up for success, there might be a time where you pivot, where you hire the other guy, he comes in with a new innovative offense. Yeah. Right? If that doesn't work out, go back to your foundation. Shout out to Coach Venables.
Right. Don't be afraid to get fired.
Hey, go back to your foundation. Go back to your first works.
Yep.
Right, and the foundation of OU football was good defense.
Always defense, yeah.
Right. So you have to be pliable again, but understand. I cannot stress enough the importance. You got to trust your coordinators, man.
Yes.
Because they have that hands-on day-to-day activity.
They're doing the coaching.
Right.
They're doing the teaching.
They're doing the teaching. They're doing the coaching. So if there's a problem in the parenting, you need to have a coaches meeting. Yeah. Definitely. And sit down in that thing and say, hey, why aren't we as a unit? Do we not agree on the philosophy?
Right.
Do we not agree on how to get our kids from point A to point Z? And you need to have these conversations before you have kids.
Right.
That is a very important conversation to have before children ever enter, into the world. I would implore you to have that conversation prior to. So again, there's not mistrust, and you don't have one of those. Who was that? Hugh Jackson and and what was that cat up at the Browns?
That was him, Hugh Jackson.
What was the coordinator's name? I can't remember the dude's name.
I see him because he's in the USFL right now. Todd Haley.
Him. You know, he always undermining Hugh. Yes. I don't know why he calling that play.
Right.
Well, that happens so much as parents. There's a lot of undermining going around. And there's no need for that. There should be one cohesive unit because the goal is to create successful human beings.
National title, baby.
And fathers, if you want to win natties, you have to surround yourself with great coordinators, with great support staff.
You know what I noticed? I was watching, OU, shout out, OU softball, national champs. They interviewed Coach V. And it was huge. One of the things he said, he was like, man, I'm here. I'm trying to learn from them. I want their culture to be my culture.
The championship culture.
Right. So he said, so what? They're asking me to speak, and I'm nervous because...
What am I going to tell them?
What am I going to tell them?
They 5 of the last 9.
Listen, I said, man, that's so much humility. That's somebody on the road who's going to be successful because he's willing to learn. In my estimation, Patty Gasso is the greatest coach in OU history. I don't care what anybody says.
Hey,
this is somebody that year in and year out is producing, conference titles, and her goal is the natty.
She producing national championships.
She says that, but along the way, she's developing these players are leaving their programs, other D1 programs, to come sit the bench here so they can learn from Patty Gasso. That says a lot, man.
That's big time. That's big time.
That says a lot.
So, again, fathers, if the mother is a national champion, be willing to listen and learn from whatever she has done to get success.
Facts.
Oh, hey, how'd you? Oh, you got a PhD. I don't. How we get there?
Come on in here. Yeah. Come on in here. Let me take notes.
How do we get there? Tell me how, because that's not something I've accomplished.
Right.
That's just you got truth. The foundation of your coaching staff and your ability to be apt to teach. That was again one of the answers of what his fatherhood taught us. Always be willing to be taught.
You got to be taught.
Always have that humility.
Yes.
Right, because it's going to breed success.
Yes, it is.
Success.
Yes, it is.
As you say all the time, success leaves clues.
It leaves clues, man.
Coach Gasso's left a lot of clues.
She left a lot.
She left a lot of clues.
She left a lot.
And we can't just believe that as fathers, that we have it all. As you said, we don't know everything.
Nope, not
and
at all.
If you have a coordinator you trust, it's one of those things about trust. If you trust them, you are going to be willing to, when they say, well, hey, when I was, studying, or when I was XYZ, or even if it's hey, you probably don't need to talk to them like that.
You know what? You're right.
You're right. They may not respond well to XYZ.
Right.
Okay, cool. Let's see if it brings us success.
Yeah.
Because if it doesn't, you can always change.
That's right.
But man, it's going to be a really bad deal if you look up and your kids are 40, living in your basement.
Yeah.
Because you were a bad father.
Yeah. For real.
Because you were a bad dad.
Yeah.
Just before we get out of here, man, what I want you to share, with the family, with the fathers out there, is in that, what would you say is probably the most important thing, for them as fathers in developing that humility, to be apt to learn, if it's from a grandmother, from another man, from the mother of their children. How do we develop that humility?
Just becoming aware that, again, you've made mistakes in your life, knowing that somebody had to show you some grace, even if it's you yourself, having to show yourself some grace, to know that your responsibility, your duty is greater than you. So if that is your mindset, then you're going to do whatever it takes. Be willing to do whatever it takes so that you can learn what you need to learn so that you can pour in the proper ingredients into your children so that they flourish, that they grow, and that they become all that they're supposed to become. Not what you want them to become, but what they're supposed to become. So it's your job to pay attention to them, to see what their skill set is, to see what their talents are. Just because you love football don't mean they're going to love football.
Facts.
And you need them to be everything the Creator made them to be.
True.
So you have to learn some other things. Listen, one of my gifts is in the body, understanding how it works and how it knows. Do that. Hey, astronomy It's not. But the beauty is, it's a science, just like the body is a science. So therefore, I understand conceptually what I need to study. So when the Joker come back talking about, hey man, the moon's messed up. Well, let me
go.
Hold on. Let me go.
Because I ain't got it like you.
Yeah, because I ain't. That's not me. But let me figure out. Right. So part of being able to teach is you have to be able to research some things.
Study.
Right? You have to be able to study
readily able.
So that you're having a conversation with them on their level. So again, they know, oh yeah, he's fully vested. He's fully vested in me.
Those are facts. That's good stuff. I just want to piggyback on something you said in the proper ingredients. So fathers, as Jesse said, when there gets a recipe. Right, we've all been in the kitchen and we've been baking, and sometimes when you first start baking, you run across a recipe and it says add baking powder. What is this? Isn't sweet. What is this? Add some salt.
Yep.
Even if the ingredients may seem a little off, if the end result is a great cookie, is a great cake, is a great dessert, just put the ingredient in there.
That's right.
If you're not a reader, but your mentor says, "Hey man, I read XYZ books."
Yes.
Okay, let me try to get down through there. So don't be afraid to put in some ingredients that may seem a little off to you.
Yeah.
If the end result of their recipe is success,
good success. Like,
because I cannot. The end goal is winning national championships.
That's right.
And your kids will develop into winners if they have all the right ingredients in them.
Yes.
Family, we sure do appreciate you guys sitting down with us today. We sure hope you were able to listen, learn, and grow. Make sure that you like, follow, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. You guys have a great day. We'll talk to you later.